Well, police say a woman was found dead in her Bella Vista home over the weekend. Police say on Sunday they found the woman after a welfare check and also found a man with an apparent self-inflicted injury. He was taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. Police are still in the early stage of the investigation. You can stay with us on air and on 5 News Plus for the latest updates. Well, heartbreaking news as 2 little boys drowned after falling through ice on a creek in Osage County, Oklahoma. This happened over the weekend. Oklahoma Highway Patrol says both boys were found in Avant. They were pronounced dead on Saturday night. The victims were ages 8 and 9 years old. OHP says that the incident is under investigation. Well, in continuing coverage, days after Amber Waterman accepted a plea deal for the deaths of Ashley Bush and her unborn baby, prosecutors are releasing portions of an interview conducted as part of that agreement, a deal that took the death penalty off of the table. In the interview, Waterman answers questions that loomed more than 3 years after the crime. She describes creating a plan to obtain a child after falsely claiming to her husband and family that she was pregnant. Waterman is now serving 4 life sentences, 2 in Arkansas and 2 from a federal conviction. During the interview, she denies planning the killing as prosecutors press her to explain her actions.
Leading up to that point where you're driving around, up until the point that you pulled the trigger, was it a wave of emotion like rage or anger that you were experiencing?
Just sadness.
5 News reporter Emily Moss reviewed the full 2-hour interview and shares key moments that explain how prosecutors resolved the case and answer questions for Ashley Bush's family. You can watch the more in-depth report at 5newsonline.com. Well, more than $17 million in medical debt has been wiped clean. That's the reality this weekend for 11,000 Crawford and Sebastian County residents. 5 News anchor Darren Bobb tells us how it all happened.
First Presbyterian Church in downtown Fort Smith is how. In a short amount of time, members gathered up more than $63,000 for those in need. Church then partnered with a nonprofit called Undo Medical. For every $1 given to Undo Medical, it erases $100 in medical debt. Reverend Tasha Blackburn says, believe it or not, this is real.
A person will receive a letter in the mail. It will come from Undo Medical Debt. It won't come from First Presbyterian Church. It'll come from Undo Medical Debt. And what they read in there, whatever number they say has been forgiven, that's for real. That's not a scam.
She says this couldn't have come at a better time.
Depending on the number you read, 37% of Arkansas adults or up to 40% of Arkansas adults, depending on the study you read, struggle with medical debt in our state, and that is higher than the national average. We do not believe it's right that a working class family or even a below working class family should then be penalized because they have a surprise bill.
Reverend Blackburn says this effort absolutely saves thousands of people a lot of heartache down the road.
What might look like a small debt to one person, say it's $1,000, it's a huge impediment to someone else. It can keep people from seeking further medical care when they need it. It can really, it's the #1 reason given for Americans to declare bankruptcy.
She says she and her church members see this as the right thing to do.
I think people of faith and I think church communities, even people who don't go to church, are asking themselves, how can I be a part of a solution and not a problem in my community? I can't change the world. You can't change the world. None of us can. But maybe we can make a small change in our patch of grass and just help someone. A little bit of a hand up is what they need.
In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, I'm Darren Bobb, 5 News.
Well, some exciting news. Arkansas is set to receive a nearly $10 million investment for changes at the Army-Navy General Hospital in Hot Springs. Congress approved the funding last week as part of a broader spending measure. The project will pay for demolition, stabilization, and environmental cleanup at the Hot Springs site. Officials say the once iconic building is now in serious disrepair and poses a risk to Hot Springs National Park. Well, Congress has just days to reach a compromise on immigration enforcement reforms before funding lapses for the Department of Homeland Security. Republicans and Democrats are still far apart on some of the key proposals, putting agencies under DHS like TSA, the Coast Guard, and FEMA at risk. Natalie Brandt has the latest.
The ball is in the court right now of the Republicans.
Facing a Friday deadline, Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill appear far from a deal on immigration enforcement reforms after federal agents fatally shot 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis.
Either they're going to agree to dramatically reform the way in which ICE and other immigration enforcement agencies are conducting themselves, or they're making the explicit decision to shut down the Coast Guard, shut down FEMA, and shut down TSA.
While there's been bipartisan agreement around requiring body cameras, there's pushback to other proposed changes, such as prohibiting masks and tightening rules around warrants. The Trump administration has relied on administrative warrants signed by immigration officials, not judges.
I want to give law enforcement every tool they need to go out and apprehend these convicted criminals that are loose in our community. To me, that makes a lot of sense. Why you would want to shackle your own law enforcement from keeping our community safe makes no sense to me.
The standoff on Capitol Hill comes as a new internal DHS document obtained by CBS News is shedding more light on the backgrounds of those arrested.
The document reveals less than 14% of nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by ICE in 2025 had charges or convictions for violent crimes.
We're focusing on the criminals, we're focusing on killers, but ultimately they all broke the law. Some can, if they do it in a certain way, they can go out, they can come back.
The document also shows nearly 40% of those arrested did not have any criminal record and were only accused of civil immigration offenses. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The search for Nancy Guthrie enters its second week in Tucson, Arizona, with no public sign of progress. A ransom note sets a second deadline for later today as authorities continue working every lead. A sheriff's deputy remains stationed outside Guthrie's home at her children's request. Investigators returned to her house and her daughter Annie's over the weekend, using drones and canvassing local gas stations for any suspicious vehicles. So far, authorities have not identified any suspects or persons of interest.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
The community, including Guthrie's pastors and neighbors, continue to pray for her safe return.